Welcome back. Welcome back to the Smarmy Grin Podcast episode number 15. Episode number 15. Smarmy Grin Podcast. That's right. It's Friday night. That's right. It's Friday night. Welcome back. Just welcome back to the Smarmy Grin Podcast. Smarmy and Grinny on a Friday night. Yeah, yeah. Smarmy and Grinny on a Friday night. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's up, my doggy dogs? It's your boy JL. Welcome back to the Smarmy Grin Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my podcast again. Episode number 15, I believe, or 14, one of those two. I believe it's 14. Actually, I don't even know, man. I gotta get this whole numbering thing right. But I'm pretty positive that it's number 15. Feeling good tonight. It's Friday night. Let's get this weekend started. Gonna talk about a few things tonight. I want to lead the show on by talking about the NBA season, the up-and-coming season. I watched a few games this past week. It was basically the first week of training camp. So I've watched a couple of the teams. They've made moves over this past season. So I'm looking forward to this coming season. I think it's going to be one of the best seasons in a long, long time. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to keep things a little bit light tonight. Don't want to do too many depressing stories. I feel like just doing the lighter side of news. So my second segment, which is going to be the last segment of the night, it's going to be the Vent. Not the Bent. Oh my god, no. The Vent, the bitching, the moaning. That's usually my last segment of the podcast. So on this last segment of the podcast, The Vent, I started this tradition on my last podcast, which is going to be what I'm going to call it, Only in Florida, under The Vent segment. So you know what that's about. You already know where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to give you a few stories that I've read on the internet, just weird Florida stories, and we'll go from there. I'm also going to give you another story that I just saw on Yahoo earlier tonight. Kind of a funny story of a man time traveling in Wyoming. It's a Friday night, man. We're all supposed to time travel. So, let's begin the show. That's the man time traveling. That's the Wyoming man time traveling. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a good night. I hope you guys had a good day and a good week. And I hope you guys are planning some amazing stuff this weekend. Fun stuff, obviously. So on the first segment tonight, I'm going to keep this short, under 30 minutes tonight, maybe less than that. Feeling a little tired. Slurring my words all over the place. I haven't even had a drink yet, so that's not a good sign. Sounds like a short night for me tonight. But let's begin the show. Tonight, on the first segment, I want to talk about the NBA, the up-and-coming season. I'm extremely excited about this. I've been talking to a couple of my friends at work and friends from my local gym and just my other friends that I have in life, just my close friends. And we're all excited about this up-and-coming 2017-2018 season of the NBA. It is, in my opinion, honestly, just from watching all the moves that have been made over this past season, during the off season, but just watching Paul George go to the Thunder and watching Carmelo Anthony go to the Thunder, and then you saw Chris Paul going to Houston, and you saw Kyrie getting traded to Boston and to the Boston Celtics, and then you saw Boston moving Isaiah Thomas and moving Crowder to Cleveland. You also saw, which you guys already probably forgot because I did too, Charlotte picking up Dwight. I mean, you might say not a big deal, but they do have a defensive player there now, defensive center. So, and also the Timberwolves picking up Taj Gibson and Jimmy Butler, with along with Wiggins and Towns. So that's going to be a fun team to watch next season. And also, there's a lot of good young teams. The Phoenix Suns have a good solid team, and the Utah Jazz have a good solid team. Portland's going to be solid this year too. You know that, with Damian Lillard. The Clippers are going to be all right. I'm thinking the Clippers are going to be at the bottom of the barrel there. They're probably going to be, if they make the playoffs and all these guys stay healthy. Of course, if they make the playoffs, it's going to depend on if all these guys stay healthy. So you're probably going to see them in the 7th spot or 8th spot. I don't really see them doing much of anything. In the East also has gotten a lot better just by all the moves that have been that went on during the off season. Miami is going to be a good team. They got a good young squad. Atlanta's going to be a good team. You know they're going to be in the playoffs. Washington's got a good team. They're going to be in the playoffs. You're looking at Toronto. Toronto's got a solid team. With them picking up Ibaka last year, I thought that was a good move for Ibaka. Orlando is just an awful move. Another horrible move that the Magic made last season. My Magic, so embarrassing being a Magic fan. It's just awful being a Magic fan over the last 8 years since that whole Dwight incident and all that. But part of it was the organization's fault and part of it was Dwight's fault, but I see it more as the organization's fault. And maybe down the line I'll talk more about that and my thoughts on what went down back then and the reason why I cannot stand the people who run this Magic organization, and being a fan of this organization for such a long time since I was in middle school, and just seeing them how they've handled players and athletes over the years and how they've handled young players. This team is a complete embarrassment. So I'll talk about that some other time. You guys already got me started on talking about that. So actually, you guys didn't. I did. I get all worked up when it comes to the Magic, man. That's how much I care about the team. That's why I am so excited, because I care so much about the NBA and basketball, that I'm so excited about this season. There's going to be so many good games this season. You can already see it too. I mean, this regular season, this preseason right now is lit up. It's just lit. I've watched so far. I've watched over the last 4 nights. I've watched a bunch of games and a lot of highlights. And I was watching, I believe it was the Houston-Oklahoma game, and those two teams were just bringing it, man. It was competitive, and you can tell that these guys wanted it. And this is only the preseason. And I'm watching all these other games this whole week. Watching Boston, Kyrie looks good. The rest of that team looks good. But you can tell that a lot of these players and a lot of these teams, they're just ready to get it on. And I'm telling you, just by watching what's been going on in the off season, and by watching what's been going on in this preseason, you can definitely tell that next season is going to be off the hook. It's going to be, I hate to use cliches like that, but it's going to be one of the best seasons that's been in the NBA over the last 10 years. It's good as far as competitiveness during the regular season and in the playoffs. This will be the most competitive season that we've had in the last 10 years. And I've been a fan of this game for a long, long time, since I was a kid. And I'm not going to... I mean, the NBA has been great for the last 7 years. The last couple of years, seeing the same teams has been kind of, But before that, seeing Miami going up against San Antonio, and then San Antonio and going up against the Lakers in the Western Conference and all that. I mean, that was great. But I think this season, though, as far as the regular season, you can bet on the NBA having a great regular season. It's going to be entertaining. If you enjoy basketball and the NBA, I recommend that you stay tuned this season for this NBA season. Even the teams I was watching, even the middle of the road teams like Charlotte, even they made a lot of moves in the off season, and they have a lot of good young players. That I'm thinking on Charlotte. I have a feeling that they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be at the bottom, but that's going to be a good team to watch. And even they look exciting. They look like a fun team to watch. Washington, I'm looking forward to watching the Wizards play. John Wall is a great player, great point guard. So they're going to be fun to watch. And to me, the top 5 team in the playoffs, as far as the top 5 teams in the East, in the Eastern Conference when it comes to the NBA, of course you're going to have, this is my own list here, but of course you're going to have Cleveland at the top. And at the second place, I still have Toronto in second place. A lot of you guys might disagree. But we really haven't seen what Boston can do. We know the picks or the players that they signed over this off season, so they're going to be there. I got them at number 3. I still have Toronto at number 2, and I got Boston at number 3. I got Washington at number 4, and then after that, just pick whomever. I don't really know who's going to be below Washington there. So. My top 5, I didn't really pick a 5th, but my top 5 teams, the Cavaliers, Toronto, Boston, Washington, and I guess I would pick, I don't know if I'm missing anybody here, but I would pick Atlanta or Miami at the number 5 spot. Now, as far as the Western Conference, obviously you're going to have Golden State at number 1, and even though a lot of people are not confident about the Thunder, and the reason why a lot of sports analysts are not confident about the Thunder this season is because they don't have a bench. But their starters, that starting 5 is one of the best starting 5s in the league. And I've heard a lot of people saying that, well, they're not going to compete against Golden State. I'm like, are you kidding me? This team will compete. You have nothing but competitors on this team, and you have nothing but great players on this team. So, yes, they will compete. As far as them going to the finals, I don't know if they will make the finals. I still think that they need to make another move in order to go to the finals. Because the Golden State, they still got Durant, they got Curry, and then they have Thompson. So I think in order for the Thunder to go all the way, I think they still got to pick or sign another player, or they need a better bench. So right now, as far as the top 5 in the West, I have Golden State at number 2. You guys are going to be surprised, but I have the San Antonio Spurs, because they really didn't do much as far as signing players last season. But I have them at number 2 because they have one of the greatest coaches to ever coach this game, and that's Pops. So Pops always has his teams ready, and this season is not going to be any different. So I got them at number 2. At number 3, I have Houston, just because of their perimeter. At number 4, I got Golden State. I'm sorry, at number 4, I got Oklahoma. And at number 5, I have Portland, of course. So that's my pick for the top 5 teams in the West. So you got Golden State at number 1. Number 2, you got the Spurs. Number 3, you have Houston. Number 4, you have the Thunder. Number 5, Portland. Number 4 and 5 with Houston and the Thunder and Oklahoma. You can switch those two teams. I think those two teams are interchangeable there at that spot. So either way, you can have the Thunder at number 3 and then the Rockets at number 4. But that's my top 5. And I'm telling you right now, it's just by watching this preseason games. It's been so much fun watching these games. Even the young teams that have no superstars, they're going at it. They're playing with their hearts out, and you can tell that they're playing competitive. Philly is going to be interesting. They got this season. They got Ben Simmons back, and they also have Embiid. So they're going to be a team to watch as well. They might be the sleeper this year. As far as Orlando, come on, man, we don't have anything here. My Magic stink until we get better management, or the management that we just signed last season, I believe in the off season. If they start making the right moves, then we'll be up there again, but I doubt it. Just by the way that the management that we've had since this team has been in Orlando, how they've mismanaged everything. The Magic, they're in a weird place right now. Orlando is in a weird place as far as an organization, because they have a lot of fans that don't care anymore. And when your fans don't care anymore, that's when you start losing that following. That's when you start losing that crowd. So you never want your fans to not care. You want your fans to be angry, disappointed, but you don't want your fans to not care anymore. And speaking for myself, I've gotten to that point where I really don't care. And a lot of my friends feel that way. And people that I've talked to in town, they feel the same way about the Magic. They just don't care about the team. And that's a very dicey area to be in if you're the Magic organization. Because what that means is that team are loose. That particular organization and team, they're losing fans. And they're losing fans rapidly. And people just jumped off ship and they're like, we're not dealing with this crap anymore. So it's one thing to be a disappointed fan. It's one thing for a team to have a losing season. It's one thing, just to go through those type of emotional highs with a team. But then it's another thing to make the wrong move or moves all the time. And this is what's been going on with this organization since the Chris Webber trade. Not to take anything away from Penny, but this is what's been going on since then. And it's been nonstop moronic moves and idiocy with this organization. So that's where I'm at. I really don't care. I'm still a fan, but not really. I'm a fan that they lost me a long time ago. So, but I've gone to disappointment, to anger, to just not caring. So, whatever, Magic. I don't really care what y'all do this season. I just know that y'all are gonna suck, and I know that the NBA this season is gonna be a lot of fun to watch. For me, I love competitive games. There's going to be a lot of competitive games this season, more so than last season. I thought last season was just a throwaway season. Last season really didn't matter, just because of the moves that were made and Durant going to Durant's move to Golden State. I thought that was awful for the league, which I was right. And last season, I didn't watch any of the games, not even the regular season. Maybe a couple of the playoff games, and that was it. Maybe I didn't even watch the finals. But this season, though, it's going to be more competitive. The NBA has got me hooked again just by all the moves that were made in the off season. And I guarantee it, and I'm guaranteeing you guys, just from watching the moves that have been going on in the offseason, and just from watching the preseason games, I'm guaranteeing you right now, this season is going to be the most competitive season in the NBA that we've had in a good 10 years. This up and coming season is going to be the most competitive season that you have or you will see. I guarantee you that there's going to be I predict there's going to be so many great games during the regular season. Even the teams at the bottom will have really good games, because it seems to me, just by watching these players in the in preseason, they just want to get the season started and they just want to get to playing. So you could tell even that, man, these guys are off the hook right now. They're just going at each other. They don't really care if it's preseason. You can tell the benches are going crazy when their teammates are making shots. And you could tell that a lot of these guys care about this particular season. And I hope it stays like that for a long time. And I think it will. And I really do think that it will. It's going to stay like this for a while. But this season is going to be the most competitive season that you will see and that you have seen in the last 10 years. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about college basketball. I absolutely love college basketball. So I can't wait for that to get started. But the NBA this season is going to be so much fun for me. I'm looking forward to that. And alright, so that's it on that. Now, for my vent segment of the night, my last segment of the night, the vent, the bitching, the moaning, which I'm also going to call Only in Florida. I'm going to give you a couple of Florida stories just to keep things lighthearted. But I'm going to read you a story that I just read online about a guy that's apparently he was time traveled when he got arrested by the police. So I'm reading the story on Yahoo.com, and you guys know how much I love Yahoo.com. So this guy got arrested for being highly intoxicated in Wyoming. Rightfully so. When he gets intoxicated, he tells the police that he's a time traveler from 2048. Oh man. I've had friends in the past that go out on Friday nights, that have gone out on Friday nights and gotten hammered. And then you ask them the next day, hey man, what'd you do last night? He's like, man, I don't remember. I was doing a little time travel last night. But this takes time travel into another level, honestly. Apparently this dude was time traveling. Excuse me, my throat here, trying to clear it. But he apparently told the police that he made a mistake, that he was supposed to come back in the year 2018 and not 2017. Oh man, what the heck is wrong with this? Man, you must have had some good stuff. That stuff never happens to me when I'm drinking like a lemon shandy or a pumpkin beer. But this dude must have been drinking some good stuff. So now let's go to the reaction comments. You know how much I love these. I haven't done this in a while, so let's go to the reaction comments and and let's read what people are saying on Yahoo. And here's one guy that writes underneath this story: we must build a time wall. The aliens will pay for it. Here's another one. He thought he would be transported to the future. Instead, he was transported to the detention center. What a bummer. I'm telling you, man. I've time traveled before. I've time traveled here at home a few times. And but I've never time traveled 30 years back. Can I just ask one question? Where are we supposed to leave to? Do we have an emergency evacuation from Earth's tragedy? I don't know about that. That one didn't make any sense. Let me get you some better ones. If you can't believe a time-traveling drunk, who can you believe? That is so true. Because drunks are so... Well, actually, they do say that when you're drunk and you say stuff when you're drunk, that you're basically telling the truth. So this guy might be telling the truth. He might be somebody from the future. He might be time traveling from the future. But I mean, looking at his photograph or mugshot, this dude is wearing flannel. Like, apparently in the future, flannel is still in. So he's also making a fashion statement with flannel. Maybe this guy's not even from 2048. Maybe this dude is from 1992 during the grunge era. Here's one guy that comments. He commented, "Please ask him if the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl yet." I doubt it. I doubt that that's happened. Another guy, "Well, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me." And another guy writes, "Why did I read this article?" And here's another guy that says, Trump tells tales and is believed. So why not this guy?" That's so true. Oh, so true, man. Why can't we believe this guy, man? I mean, come on. This dude probably has the best Whopper of all time. I've heard some good Whoppers, and this is a really good Whopper. This is right up there with the best of the Whoppers that I've heard. How is it that a drunken imbecile is now a national headline? 4 days. This has to be the dumbest news story I've ever seen or heard. So, according to this story, this guy time traveled, and he also predicted or was telling people to change their ways, or because the aliens are coming. We're gonna be invaded by aliens. So yes, build that alien wall. Let's see what else I can find here. At least we make it to 2048. Yeah, I'll have what he's drinking. Yeah, the invasion from the planet Drunken. Here's a lady that writes on this Yahoo comment section. "Thank you, Yahoo. This is the best article you posted today. I'm glad you have strayed away enough to write one article that wasn't about the Kardashians or about the millennials." I have to agree. This is a pretty... Actually, Yahoo should do more of these articles or news stories. Weird stories are always fun to listen to or read. Compared to Trump, this is a good news story. It's another one. He goes, "Casper, Wyoming is the #1 place for aliens to attack." And I'm not dissing Casper. I graduated from high school there way back in 1968. Who knows who he really is? Remember, no one believed Jesus either, and Romans murdered him on a cross at the behest of the Jewish rabbis. Yeah, I mean, maybe this guy is telling the truth. Like I said earlier, I mean, usually when you're drunk, you do tell the truth. So he might be telling the truth. Maybe there is an invasion coming by extraterrestrials. People wander all over Portland and Oregon saying those things all the time. So that happens in other cities. Why would anyone doubt this guy and still believe Congress and the president? Oh my God, that is so true. Why would anybody doubt this guy, man? And we believe politicians. Come on. That's such a true statement. Good one. I like that. So give him the benefit of the doubt. Yes, I will. He said that the Cleveland Browns haven't won a Super Bowl yet. This man is from the future. Because you know that ain't happening. The Browns are never going to win a Super Bowl. So, yep, I believe him. I believe this man. We'll just end that story on that. We'll end it on the Cleveland Browns story. Wow. I'm going to have to do some time traveling on my own soon. Maybe this weekend as I'm doing this podcast. Actually, podcast number 16 on the Smarmy Grin. My next podcast, I'll be broadcasting live from the year 2058 right out of my house. And I'll let you know how things look like in 2058 from my couch. Alright, so let's get to my follow-up segment of the Vent, and that's only in Florida. I'm going to read you a couple of stories, and then I'm going to end the show. So here's a story from Thrillist.com. All these stories are about Florida, so if you want to read some, they're on here. So here's the title: Woman closes eyes to pray. Woman closes eyes to pray while driving Jesus. She goes, woman closes eyes to pray while driving. Jesus takes wheel and runs car into the side of the house. In North Florida, the rules of God are clearly more important than the rules of the road. That's why a 20-year-old Fort Walton Beach woman thought closing her eyes to get closer to the Almighty was a perfectly reasonable thing to do when operating a 4,000-pound motor vehicle. Unfortunately, the aforementioned eye closing caused her to miss a stop sign and run directly into the side of a house in Mary Esther. She was charged with reckless driving. Man, why am I not surprised, man? There's so many awful drivers in Florida, and you see people doing everything while driving and not even paying attention. So this is a perfect example of the awful drivers we have here in Florida, which in previous episodes, podcast episodes, you guys have heard me mention my day-to-day experience with awful drivers where I live in Central Florida. So here's another one. Here's the title: Man crashes his car into a building, exclaims he was trying to time travel. So here we go. It's not even in Wyoming that people time travel. Also, time traveling happens here in Florida. It says right here, a Pensacola man mistook his Dodge Challenger for a DeLorean this past December when he maxed out his flux capacitor and crashed into the side of a strip mall. When pulled from the wreckage of his car, the former tax accounting firm he crashed into, the man claimed he was trying to time travel. Nobody was injured. Breaking: the man has not been identified, possibly because he came from the future and didn't need ID. See, time travel is not only in Wyoming, it also happens here in Florida. And according to this article, it also happens if you have a Dodge Challenger. Chances are you can time travel and use it as a DeLorean. So you might try time travel right into a building. So it's not only in Wyoming that people get hammered and time travel. It's also done here in Florida, which I'm going to try this weekend, but I'm going to try it on my couch. And then I'll let you guys know from the year 2048 how things are like in the year 2048 for me. But anyways, that's the end of the podcast, and I'll be time traveling to my bed. So thanks for listening again to another episode of the Smarmy Grin Podcast, episode number 15. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and I hope you guys had a great week. And thanks for listening again, guys. I really do appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. See ya!